Ground, it could be a steal. Daniel goes down. He's got it away from her. Can he get a connection in with Zach? He puts it over.
Okay, we're watching the black team. That's the black number 2 that just picked the ball up, and they want to score to the right side of the screen, and his number 1 is nowhere in sight. So he has to be looking at his number 1 and be coordinating their entry into the end zone to get the ball. So the ball carrier will be clear to get the pass to him and figure out how to do that when the number 1 gets up and crosses into the 30-yard area. So the ball carrier is killing time. Here the number 1 finally comes on the screen, and right here the ball has just come out of the number 2's racket. He's already thrown it, and this is, you know, part of the timing that you have to work on to coordinate so he can throw it to a place and at a time that the number 1 will be able to receive it and will be in the area. So here the ball just got in the number 1's racket, and you can decide if you think that their timing may not have been the safest to, or the timing or the placement of where the ball carrier threw that ball. Did he make sure that the number 1, when he caught it, would be completely in the area?
On and in the throw in. This time Zach grabs it out of the lineup. He passes it over to Braxton to carry it down the field. But hopefully pass it back to him just before he pushes it between the posts. Oh, but Rachel isn't even gonna let Zach get in the end zone.
Take it to him.
Oh.
Okay, here when the black number 1 got it out of the lineup, he throws it off to the number 3, so the 3 can carry it down, and the 1 will, you know, hopefully get a pass to him after he's in the end zone. So they start working on their connection, on their timing of their connection, and both of them, the ball carrier has got somebody on his stick side where he's going to have to make some kind of arrangement, but the orange number 3 is preventing the black number 1 to run directly into the end zone, so they both have to kill some time. And that's what they are going to do here. The only thing in this time killing deal, I wouldn't recommend that the ball carrier gets himself closer, continues going closer to the end zone when his number 1 wasn't in the end zone or had a run to the end zone already, because it just gives him a lot less field to maneuver with. Anyhow, his number 1's finally gotten to where they're going to go across into the end zone right now, and in order to connect as they go across, our ball carrier would have to throw a pretty long, hopefully a lob pass towards the corner of the field, which is not very safe, so they don't try to connect as they go across. And since our ball carrier has gotten himself right up to the 30-yard line, he's going to have to, you know, come back onto the field to maneuver and do some stuff like that. And here, another thing I would have suggested, first of all, he shouldn't have gotten so close to the 30-yard line to begin with, so that when he made his maneuver to go towards the number 1 to connect, he would have had more of been farther away, and so he would have a less of an angle to get over to his side of the field, whichever side it was. But now I would suggest that he gets further away from the 30-yard line, and instead of turning right sharp like he's fixing to do here, I'd suggest he continues running straight away from his end zone And if he wants to get to the corner of the field or get help with the ball, he'd throw it back to his other player who is away from those other players and is also headed toward that corner of the field to get the pass into the one. So if he had headed back upfield, his number 2 was up there near the 30-yard line but away from all the other orange players and could have delivered the ball into the end zone wherever he wanted. I went in and stopped it here because it was hit out of his racket, and then regardless of who got it, they actually called a penalty and stopped this play.
On it, but she left it on the ground, and it's cleaned up by Olivia Utrich, the number 3 on the white team. Olivia carrying it down, looking for Grace, the connection with Grace. And she gets around Fulton. Can she get it? The ball into Grace Nelson. It's just a little bit beyond Grace's racket, but she may still be first to it.
Okay, the team with the white helmets are heading toward the right side of the field. The ball carrier on the Appaloosa Palomino horse. And the number 1 is up to the right of the screen right now. And they should have already started working on their coordinating their connection across the line. But what you don't see is you don't see the number 1 looking back at the ball carrier to know how to be ready for a pass when she gets across the line. So as she makes her way up to the line, now she's just fixing to go across the line. I still don't think she's looked back to know where her ball carrier is. She's looking over at the 3, and her job as she goes over the line would be to keep the number 3 on one side of her and then look for the pass on the other side. And that is what her ball carrier should be expecting her to do. If she had been looking at her ball carrier, she had realized the ball carrier is in a position to be free for a pass right away. So she could just step in to the area, turn left, and catch the pass. But I think since she never looked, I don't think she realized that. So what she does instead of turning away and going for the pass right away is she gets up completely against the number 3, and her ball carrier is expecting her to take a left and catch a pass right away. So here she gets kind of up against the number 3 and then turns away from her. Still hasn't really looked back for the ball carrier. And if she knew where the ball carrier was and the ball carrier wasn't ready to make a throw, she could just stop and stay up against the 3 facing the goal, both of them facing the goal, and wait until her ball carrier is ready to make the pass and then turn away from the 3. But she's got up against the 3 and then turned away, I guess to be looking for a pass. She hasn't actually looked for it yet. But by the time she is clear for that pass, then the ball carrier is covered up. So now she's free for a pass and looking for a ball carrier, and there's players all around the ball carrier where they can't connect. So now that she hasn't connected when she first went across the line, what our number 1 should do is just get somewhere facing back upfield and up against and just stop and stand still. If the 3 is anywhere near you, just get up against the 3 and stop and stand still and wait till the ball carrier can throw you the ball. That's what she should be doing. And instead of going somewhere, position herself up against the 3 where she could turn away when the ball carrier is clear, she starts what I call fighting with the number 3, just keeps maneuvering, trying to get clear and hoping that she is clear for a pass when the number 1 is free to make the throw. So by the time the the ball carrier got where she could pass it. The 3 had gotten between them, so now our number 1 just starts fighting with the 3, going back and forth, making a turn, hoping she's clear. If she's clear, hoping the ball carrier is clear, until finally the ball carrier thinks she can put it out, and the number 1 is holding her racket up, looking for the pass. But at the time she went and looked it up, the 3, which was between the 1 and the ball carrier, a little bit behind, so the ball carrier had to put it just barely within reach of the number 1's racket, so it'd be out of reach of the number 3's racket. And I don't know if she put it within reach or not, but it went beyond the number 1's racket, so they didn't connect on that. However, it went to an area that was away from the number 3, where our number 1 should have still have gotten to it first, so the pass was still all right.
Daniel for the black team.
Look, Daniel.
Throws it out there in front of Braxton. Oh, it took a bad bounce, but oh, he's got it. And Braxton wanted to get a connection into Zach. He's getting orange shirts all around it. Braxton passing over to Daniel. Daniel put it in for Zach.
Okay, here the black team is carrying it up to the left side of the screen. Black 2 throws it off to the black 3, and there's the black 1 already being marked up in midfield. And by the time the black number 3 gets control of the ball, I think he's actually farther downfield than his number 1. So he's going to have to do some killing time or slowing down or coming back to give his number 1 a chance to get down to the end zone where they can connect on the pass. And once again, I would suggested that the ball carrier in killing time doesn't go so close to the 30-yard line. He would stay farther back into the midfield, so he has a easier angle to get the ball to wherever the number 1 is. But right now the number 1 is fixing to go into the end zone, and he's got the orange number 3 on his right side, so you'd expect him to be looking for a pass on the left. Keep her on his right side and look for the pass on the left. And the black number 1 went ahead and turned away from the number 3 before his time to catch the pass, which he shouldn't have done. If it wasn't time, if the ball carrier wasn't able to throw it, he could have just stayed up against her, facing the back of the field, and just waited for somebody to come over and then made one jump away from her and caught a pass. But he went ahead and turned away from her anyhow, and then like right now he's not in a bad position to just stop there facing upfield and wait for them to get clear for a pass. So he's still in a good position there to just stop. Just stop and stand right there, facing back upfield, and let the ball carrier maneuver around to get over to where he can give him a pass on his stick side. And that would be appropriate for right now. The ball carrier is, once again, precariously very close up to the 30-yard line. And once again, he's got the whole rest of the orange team around him. But our number 1 doesn't stop and wait. He starts fighting with the orange number 3. And here the black number 3 does a good thing. It's what I would have suggested that he did a while ago. instead of being up on that 30-yard line with orange players all around him, he draws the whole orange team away from the 30-yard line and away from the middle of the field, and then passes the ball back to the middle of the field at the 30-yard line, where his number 2 is there waiting. And he throws it off to the number 2, who's out there all by themselves, and the number 2 can really deliver the pass wherever he wants because nobody's bothering him, or maneuver his horse to a different place to deliver the pass wherever he wants. The number 1 has got the orange player on their left side, so you would think our ball carrier would want to be throwing it to the number 1's right side, his racket side, which is clear. He doesn't even have to turn or anything. Just put it way over to his right side. But as it turns out, the ball carrier put it kind of right between the players, where the orange player went right in her racket.
Now Daniel wanted to connect up with Zach. They haven't been making very good connections. Let's see if they do better this time. Right in his...
Okay, here the black number 2 carrying the ball down the field for straight in type of deal. Now, as the number 1 is going over the 30-yard line, he's got the number 3 on his left side looking over to his right for the pass, and he may be able to go straight in. The number 3, the orange number 3, is reaching across the number 1's horse to catch the ball, which is perfectly legal, as long as she doesn't interfere on the other side. So as a ball carrier, when you see that happening, you want to put it not only to the right side of the black player, but you want to put it on the right side and forward of him. If she's reaching behind the player, you want to put it in front of him. If she had been reaching and her arm was in front of your player, you'd want to put the pass to that side but behind. They have just a lot shorter reach to go away from the body, or to the other side of the body that they're reaching across.
Dory's looking for a number 1. He's going into the end zone. Look, not open yet. She's looking. She's trying to get open.
Come on, boys, get on it.
There's the pass.
Okay, now we're going to watch the red team. They want to score at the left side of the screen, at the end zone that's to the left of the screen. And that is the number 3 that's carrying the ball down the field. So when we finally see the number 1, there's the number 1 already being ridden off, but further down the field. And it looks like she had been going slow and waiting for the ball carrier, whoever it would be, to start working her way down there. So now they need to start coordinating their connection in the end zone. The orange number 3 is on the red number 1's right side. So all our number 1 has to do is go into the end zone, keeping that orange player on her right side, and then look for a pass on the left. Our ball carrier is over to the right side of the field, so she should start working her way to the left side of the field, if she hadn't already, because she knows the number 1 will be looking for the pass on the left. So the ball carrier had control, still kind of has control of the defender, where she could have just pushed all the way over to the left side of the field and just delivered the pass directly to the left side of the number 1 when she got in. But here, the ball carrier is checking up, so she's lost control over the orange player, so she's not able to go freely over to this left side of the field. And our number 1 is fixing to go in across the line, and they won't be in a position that they can connect as they go across the line. So the ball carrier goes in. She's got the number 3 on her right side. She should be looking for a pass on the left. And she should have been aware of where her ball carrier was. And she should realize that the ball carrier isn't ready to make a pass yet. So what she could do is just stop right where she is, keep that number 3 right beside her, both of them facing the back line, and just sit there in that position and wait until the ball carrier can get over to the left side of the field, and then our number 1 would make one turn away from the 3 and catch the pass. But I don't think that's what happens. So instead of connecting over the line or holding that player on one side of her, she starts fighting with the 3 in the area to try to get clear for a pass. And here, when she does finally get clear, her ball carrier can kind of get a pass to her, is kind of clear to get a pass to her. So the position they're in right now, when the number 1 is turned away from the 3 and our ball carrier is kind of facing and approaching the 30-yard line, they should be able to connect on a pass directly. But as it turns out, they don't connect on the pass, and all of that fighting and stuff was for naught.
And now Robbie's got it, taken to their end zone, looking for Tessa. Tessa's looking for a spot to get open. They're fighting. And
So she's steady looking over there, and here she does something a little bit wrong. As the 3 is catching up to her, she has an opportunity to connect up forward of the 3 so the 3 cannot control where she goes. And she stays off of the number 3, and as it turns out, the number 3's able to angle her, doesn't get her completely stopped, but gets her angled over to this side of the field. So our number 1 should have, right at this point, just continued going right sideways up against her and just stayed right up against her, just slightly forward of her, and gone straight into the end zone and then turned away after she got there. So she's got the number 3 on her right side, so she should be looking for the pass on the left. And she is, but since she is angling across the line, she's not really turning away from the 3 and is still kind of within range of the number 3. She's too close to the 30-yard line to be able to turn away from the 3 if they would pass her the ball now. So the ball carrier won't want to pass her the ball right now. And if that 3 is beside her, where if she would catch it, now she has room to turn, but you still may not want to throw it to her if that 3 is already there within reach of a racket. So you'd want her to start her turn first and then pass it to her so she'd catch it when her racket is already out of reach of the number 3's racket. So it looks like that's what the ball carrier intended, and he didn't throw it directly to her, which he could have because her racket was safe, but the place he put it was still okay. She's still first to it, and she's between where the ball ends up going and the defending number 3.
Dory's going. Rachel's pushing on Tessa, make sure she doesn't get into that end zone. Dory's just waiting for Tessa to get in there to be open.
Now you got 2. Now you got 2.
They're waiting. Tessa's open. Robbie's got the ball, waiting for Tessa as well. He's got 2 orange on him. Oh.
It's even hard to tell the difference in colors at this distance, but there's a red team and an orange team, and the red team is carrying the ball. We're watching them. That's the red ball carrier kind of in the middle of the field, and the number 1 is over to the left of the screen trying to get into the end zone. And so number 1's getting held up. The ball carrier is slowing down also, which is what they should do to make it so hopefully they can run towards the end zone across the line, get there at about the same time where they can connect on a pass as the number 1 first goes across the line. So the ball carrier is still killing time, and the number 1 now is about to make their way into the end zone. And as she's going to the end zone, she's got the orange number 3 on her right side, so it would be appropriate for her to be going in to the end zone, keeping the orange player on the right side and looking for the pass on the left. She's fairly close to the left sideline, but she does have enough maneuvering room, so it's not unreasonable to expect a pass that far from the sideline. But the ball carrier isn't going to be able to deliver the ball right when she goes over the line because she's kind of far away and turned the wrong direction. So one thing that the number 1 could do is go straight across the line and just stop up against the 3, facing the back line, and wait until the ball carrier can get over to the left side of the field to throw her a pass, and then she turns once away from the orange player to catch the pass. So here's the spot where she could have just stopped as soon as she got across the line and stayed up against the orange 3, but here she starts fighting with the number 3, which is not what I ever recommend to do. So she's fighting with the number 3. In the meantime, the ball carrier gets pressure. The ball carrier passes it off, and the number 1 gets clear. Well, she got clear when they couldn't get a pass to her, so wasted that turn to get clear. So now a new ball carrier, and she's still not clear. The new ball carrier gets under pressure, and the position that the number 1 is in is okay. She could just stop right there, and if she would just stop right there and wait for the ball carriers to get in a position to give her a pass, it would be far better than anything else she would do trying to fight with that person. So the ball carrier passes it up to the other ball carrier, and then the number 1 gets a little bit ahead, and the current ball carrier, now in the middle of the field, is has a place to put it, either way in front just at the end of her reach because the number 3 is between them, or lob it to where it goes beyond the number 1, and the number 1 can turn away from the number 3 to go get it. And she gets the pass off, and I don't even remember if she got that one or not.
Trying to move it down the field. She's getting there. Lots of pressure from her number 1. Kiki's going into the area.
Okay, this time, at least as far as the connection in the end zone, I think both players did everything right. It takes them a while to get up there. That's the number 1 on the left, just went off the left of the screen, and the ball carrier that's kind of in the middle of the screen now. And just now when you see them both in the screen, you can tell the number 1 is looking back and forth to the ball carrier pretty regularly, keeping track of her, and the number 1 is positioned slightly forward of the number 3, so the number 3 can't bend her or keep her from getting down the field. Now, when the number 3 checks back, it's the number 1's job to keep the number 3 on one side of them as they go across the line. So here now she's come back, and she has once again picked up the number 3 slightly forward, where she is in control of the 3. But right here where it stops, she starts to make, not really a mistake, but something that would have been more to her advantage if she had done it differently, is she started angling into the end zone, angling to her right about here, which let the number 3 slip farther back, with the danger of, more of a danger of them slipping between you and the ball carrier, and it moves you to farther to the side of the field. Once you get the ball, you have less field to maneuver with. So she would have been better off just continuing going straight until she got across the line, and then turned more directly away from the 3 to catch the pass. But even though she angles away, they do connect on the pass, and she did keep the number 3 away from her stick side and looked for and caught the pass on her right side.
Up by Baltimore. Looking for Kiki. Kiki is going down to the end zone. Lots of pressure from that one. Tosses. 3 has it for Baltimore. Looking for Kiki. Kiki's getting ready. And it's a toss. Kiki missed.
Okay, here we're watching the blue team again. They're coming down towards the left of the screen, and we're only really concerned about their connection into the end zone. But you can see here already the number 1 is out front and is looking at the ball carrier, and just sees here that the ball carrier is getting held up. So one thing that I would have probably preferred that she do is to not continue down to the end zone. Right about here where she sees the ball carrier is getting held up, she could just stop and wait until the ball carrier gets lined out again, and then make her run from further out of midfield with the ball carrier to connect over the line. So that ball carrier passed the ball off to the other ball carrier. And in the meantime, our number 1 has made it almost up to the 30-yard line. And here you can't tell so much, but she did a kind of a smart thing. Instead of going into the end zone early, she just connected up with the 3, but then waited outside of the end zone, waiting in midfield until the ball carrier gets up there, so she can make her run across the 30-yard line when the ball carrier's up there to deliver a pass as she's going across. So she just stopped there and waiting, which is fine. And then when the ball carrier gets up close, she starts out to go across the line. And here she does kind of the same thing she did the last time. She's going across at an angle. She had the 3 held up where she could have gone straight toward almost the goalpost, or straight towards the back line, instead of angling over to the right side of the field. This time it's a little bit more than the last time, in that the number 3 is farther back compared to the angle that the ball is coming towards the number 1, and has a shot a better shot of interfering or intercepting the pass. So here they get up there, and the ball carrier's right at the line. The number one is not even maybe a couple yards inside the area, so it's a very short little pass right to her. But the number three is reaching across and may be in a position where the pass would had to have been put out well over to the right side in order to get out of reach of the black player's racket. They ended up missing this connection, and I don't know if it was because the number three had done something or some other reason, but the number three is reaching behind the number one, so to give a pass directly to her, you'd want to put it to the number one's right side, but in front of her, so she catches it up by her horse's ears where the number three can't reach, instead of passing it to her directly straight out or towards the horse's hip. Or you could lob it out there in front.
Dory has the ball. Robbie's looking. Dory passes. Robbie.
Okay, we'll be watching the red team this time. They're going to the right side of the screen. And the number three's caught it. The number one had gone around the front, and they're headed down. Looks like they should have an easy, nobody around connection over the line. But that's the number three on the white horse, and looks like she's going to be threatening the ball carrier. Probably would be able to get there to get her racket before the ball carrier would normally have wanted to throw it. So the ball carrier is going to be getting rid of it probably earlier than she would while the number one is still out in midfield. The number one, though, is constantly watching the ball carrier and is ready for whatever she does. He'll know what she's doing as she does it. And so what she would want to do if she has to get rid of it early is put it way out there in front, maybe lob it up high so it's still in the air, so that by the time it gets back within reach, the number one is well within the end zone. And sure enough, she doesn't put it directly to his racket, but she lobs it way up so that by the time he catches it, he's well in there. One thing, it was probably not the best thing, she put it over to the right side of him, which is kind of on the way to the goal, but she put it even more to the right than she needed to, which made him drift over in front of the number three. And if he had missed the pass or something, it would have been on the number three side, or the number three could have been there to retrieve it off the ground or whatever. So it would have been probably better if she had lobbed it like that, but where he had run straight into the area to receive it instead of running over, angling towards the goal.
Baltimore has the ball, going to the area, looking for Kiki. And make it.
Okay, the blue team's carrying the ball towards the right side of the screen, and that's the number one kind of at the top of the screen, and she's steadily looking over there toward her number three, or the ball carrier, and here she makes her commitment to, she speeds up to commit to go to the right side of the black three to time her entry into the end zone with her ball carrier, which is all pretty correct. And then once again, going into across the 30-yard line, she needs to keep the number three on her left and look for the pass on the right, just like she does. Once again, she angles more to the side of the field rather than going straight on. But it all works out. It's a short pass. She's well protected, and they do connect on it.
Get into the area. UK, Australia is holding.
Nice, Liv!
Liz is free and is looking for Kiki. Kiki is not open yet. Cat has the ball. Cat is looking for Kiki and taking.
Okay, we're watching the blue team now. They're headed up toward the right side of the screen, and that's the number 1 headed towards the end zone on the right, very right side of the screen, and the ball carrier has gotten turned around and is having to make a turn around or do something because there's defenders chasing her. And we can't see the 1, but she was being marked up by the 3 just inside the area, very close to the 30-yard line. And now the ball carrier is getting lined out to be able to make a run to the end zone. And the number 1 has gotten inside the end zone and is stopped crossways to the field almost with her stick side toward the ball and the defender on her non-stick side. She's in a very good position right here to just stand there and let the ball carrier bring her the ball. So if the 3 goes to her front, she just steps forward. If it goes to her back, she steps backwards, staying crossways the field, but that's not what happened. She turned back upfield, which still isn't bad, but now she should be positioning herself directly up against the 3, and she's letting the 3 kind of stay off, where she could have just stepped forward as that 3 came up toward the front end and stayed crossways the field and just be standing there with the racket out towards the ball and caught the ball. But now, because she made that, 1 turn, getting herself out of that good position, she has to start fighting with the number 3. And here, now the 3 is between her and the ball carrier's there where she could give a pass. Another thing she could have done once she faced back up to the midfield is when she turned back to the right side of the field, or I guess her right, but to the left side of the field, if she would have just turned away from that 3 and taken a jump when she turned, she would have been out front and they could have connected on the pass there. But she didn't get away from the 3. Once she turned and stopped, and the 3 got between her and the ball, and the ball carrier doesn't have any place to put the ball. So now she started fighting with the 3 to try to get clear. She gets clear for a second. The ball carrier's not, so she tries something else. The ball carrier's not clear. Now the ball carrier gets clear for a pass, and she's not clear. Now she gets clear for a pass, and the ball carrier's not clear. And so finally, about here, they get up to a spot where the ball carrier can lob it over that defender, and our number 1 is out in front where she is clear to get a pass. But I looked on the times on this recording, and she spent more time fighting with the number 3 in the area than the rest of the whole play, getting the ball down the field and circling back. And I never recommend that you fight with the 3 to get clear for a pass. Okay, we'll watch the blue team carrying the ball towards the right side of the screen. That's, I think, the number 3 carrying the ball farthest to the right of the screen, and the number 1's over there to the left. And the number 1 is looking at this over this area. So you'd think she's looking at the ball carrier. That is also the number 3, the opposing number 3, that is on the ball carrier. So this is kind of a perfect time when the opposing number 3 is over here dealing with our ball carrier. It'd be a good time for our ball carrier to just lob it way over, letting it bounce anywhere over there on the side where the number 1 would be going in. Because the number 1, if she didn't get it first go around, would have plenty of time to pick it up before the 3 got over there. So there's doesn't have to be real accurate where she places it. Or if she's not going to do a lob pass, she needs to turn around and make another approach to the up towards the 30-yard line. So even though the number one is looking over here, she quit looking for some reason and decided to turn her horse for some reason. And at the time that the ball is just now the last frame that the ball is still in the ball carrier's racket, and I think she's already stepped over the 30-yard line. But regardless of that, the number one doesn't even know that she's throwing the ball because she quit looking at the ball carrier. And whether she was looking or not, there's no reason for her to have to turn her horse. She could have stepped in the end zone and just stopped facing the goal and just waited. If she's going to throw it or not, she's still in a good position to be available for a pass. But that's not what happened. I think they actually did call the penalty for her carrying over the 30-yard line. Okay, we're watching the blue team carrying the ball up the field. The ball carrier is further to the left of the screen, and the number one is up there almost at the 30-yard line. But here, appropriately, she's waiting outside of the area, and she is marking up already to kind of take control of the number three. She's in a very good position. She's pointed straight down the field and up against the number three, so she can be watching her ball carrier and just wait right in that good position, and as the ball carrier approaches the 30-yard line ready to throw it in, she just steps straight in, turns, looks to her right, and looks for the ball. But then our number one is stepping away from the three, and now she's kind of close to her again, but once again she's angling towards the right side of the field rather than going straight in. Now there's nothing wrong with angling to the right side of the field. The ball carrier's over there, and you'd be a little bit closer to where the ball carrier's bringing the ball, but it's not as strong a position as if you would just be going straight towards the goal as you catch the pass going over the 30-yard line. And our number one does keep the number three on one side of her. Once again, since she angled, the number three did slip back a little bit, but the number one is still in a good position to catch the ball and protect her racket side, where the number three doesn't really have a chance of intercepting it. Okay, we're watching the red team that has the blue number one. The number one is wearing a blue shirt for some reason. And the ball carrier has gotten... actually, the number one took a penalty throw, threw it to his number three, and he took off towards the goal. The number three was getting held up, so to coordinate his entry into the end zone with the ball carrier, the number one right here slacks up and actually turns back and stops going downfield to wait for the ball carrier, which is exactly what you're supposed to do. So he looks back and he's just relaxing now. He sees that the ball carrier is getting lined out to make a run, so he starts moving downfield again. So he gets lined out, headed down the field, and he's got the number three on his right. So he's in a slightly forward of her, so he should be able to take control to be looking for a pass on the left, and the ball carrier is moving towards the left side of the field, just like they're supposed to. And then he screws up right here. Instead of keeping control of the number 3, he passed her up, didn't keep her on one side of him, and now she is on his left side, and he should be looking for a pass on his right. So the ball carrier, way back upfield, now has to switch sides and try to head toward the right side of the field to be delivering him the pass. So now the ball carrier works her way over to the right side of the field. This time he holds the number 3 on one side, right up against her going across the line. He also was a little bit of an angle to going in, but his angle was going toward his ball carrier, which makes it harder for someone to intercept, as if instead of angling away from the ball carrier. But still, and he may not have had control of the direction of the number 3. But if he had control, it still would have been stronger for him to stay facing the goal, catch it on his right side, and just put it straight.
Well, I'm back in Dory's racket. Robbie's at a nice, slow pace on the inside. That's his.
Okay, we're watching the red and blue team this time, and they're wanting to score at the left side of the screen. And the number 3 caught it out the back, and she starts toward her end zone, and then she looks back and starts coordinating with the number 1 right here, right in the middle of the field. She looks back, sees he's behind, and she checks back, watching him to see where she needs to go, where and when she needs to go to connect up with him when he gets up to the 30-yard line to take a pass. So here she's steady looking at him. He's behind, so she's slowing down. Now he switches from one side to the other, kind of confusing her maybe. And then she does kind of a smart thing here. Instead of following him straight up to the 30-yard line, where if he didn't make it into the 30-yard line, there's a big cluster there, she starts slowing up and turning and stopping maybe 10 yards away from the 30-yard line. If he gets in, she can turn back and throw the ball still, but she has some maneuvering room and isn't trapped up against the 30-yard line if something doesn't go well. And as it turns out, the number 1 doesn't get into the end zone, so here she is stopped further out in midfield where she has some maneuvering room, and she just keeps the defender away from her racket, maneuvers around, and then the number 1 gets lined out to and our ball carrier is in a position where she can just take a couple steps toward the end zone and be set to give him a pass as he goes across the line. And sure enough, he goes across the line. All the 3 almost was trying to get between him and the pass, but they got the pass off before she got in the way, and they make their connection.
Robbie comes in, passes it off to Story.
Okay, the blue number 1 was taking a penalty throw at the 30-yard line into the area, and he threw it over to his number 3, who threw it right back to him. So he didn't have to count on a bounce. And this is a very easy thing to do if the other team isn't marking up your midfield players, where they can just stand there, take the pass, and pass it right back to you.
Yes, Robbie!
Passes back to Dory. Not very confident. throws it in. Robbie.
Okay, we're watching the red and blue team. The red and blue team carrying the ball towards the left side of the field, left side of the screen. And the number 1 had it, threw it back to the number 3 to carry it down the field. And then here they'll start coordinating their approach to the end zone to try to get the pass as the number 1 is going across the line. Here the number 1 is in a pretty good position to keep the orange number 3, who's on the white horse, on his left side, and he would be in a stronger position himself if he would bend her more to go straight down the field rather than angling to the right side of the field the way they are. So he actually does try to straighten her out and go more straight down the field until he sees his ball carrier being pushed over to the right side of the field. So she's either going to continue and try to get a pass off right as she gets, towards the right sideline, or she's going to turn around and make another approach. And just in case she tries to make the pass, he continues angling now over towards the right, where he would be available for that pass if she's able to get it off. So here she does put the pass in to him, and to tell the truth, I don't know if they connected on it or not. But if he had gone over to that corner for her to pass it and she didn't, then he would just try to come back somewhere and stand, letting her make another approach. But by continuing over to that sideline, he gave her the opportunity of being available in case she was able to make the pass as she was getting pushed towards the side of the field.
Field. Passes the back door. See a familiar play going on. Rachel on that wall, not letting Robbie get in. 8 seconds left on the clock. Rachel collects. They might be.
Okay, the blue and red team carrying the ball to the left side of the screen. Blue player just passed it. The blue number 1 just passed it to the 3 to carry it down the field. And then the blue number 1 does a terrible thing, trying to turn toward a player to get past them here when they're right up against him. But neither he nor the ball carrier could move down the field, so they both turn, come back, and now the number 1 is lined out and in a good marking up position to hold the number 3 on his right side and make a run straight into the end zone. The ball carrier is headed toward the left side of the field where the number 1 will be looking for the pass. So this could work out. If he just continues on straight, and if the ball carrier continues on straight, they should make the connection right across the line. Then right about here, when the number 1 sees that the ball carrier isn't going to be able to make the run straight, what he should do is just either, if he's not worried about being held out of the end zone, he should just stop and wait right where he's at. Stay up against the number 3 facing his goal and just stop and wait there in midfield, letting her maneuver until she gets over to this side of the field where she can get him a pass. Or if he's worried about being held out of the end zone altogether, he should go ahead and stay with 3 and go across the 30-yard line and just stop inside the 30-yard line, inside the area, facing the goal, right up against the 3, and wait for her to deliver. But I don't think that's what happens. So he doesn't stay in the midfield, and when he goes into the end zone, he doesn't keep the 3 on one side of him, stay against them, and facing his goal. Now, turning around is not a problem, but when he passed her up, he doesn't get back up against her and stop and wait. And he doesn't even stand in one place on the field and stop and wait, letting the three maneuver around. But those would have been acceptable things to do. And what he does, though, is starts fighting with the three to try to get clear. So he sees that the ball carrier is going to be able to make a run towards the end zone. He thinks he can get out there in front and they can connect, but the throw gets actually intercepted by the orange three.
Picks it up on the offside, runs down the field. Getting a little bit of pressure from the other team. Liz picks up two players, and Catherine runs down the field with no one on her. Kiki's looking for the pass. Oh!
Okay, we've got a blue and a gray team, blue and a black team out here, and we're watching the blue team carrying the ball to the left side of the field. The blue number one is actually in the very middle of the field right now, and she's doing some good things right now. The ball carrier is back upfield, and so she is stopping and waiting up in midfield for her ball carrier to make a run, and she's also in control of the number three. She's up against the number three and has her shoulders slightly ahead, so she is controlling the number three and waiting in midfield to make a run and coordinate the entry into the end zone. And our number one is still in control of the three, and here the ball carrier gets a run and starts heading down the field. So our number one is in a good position to continue controlling the number three. She's well in front of the shoulder, and just carry her down on her right side, on the number one's right side, and be looking for a pass on the left as she goes across the line. And you can see the ball carrier is expecting that and is heading toward the left side, which is about the middle of the field, to be on the number one's left side. So everything's looking groovy now. Number one's in control, has a good side open. The ball carrier's out by herself. And here the number one starts doing what she's done several times before. Instead of going straight in and then turning directly away from the number three, she angles in, and this time she's angling in with her stick side on, with the defender on the stick side. So she can't just angle in and reach and look for the pass. With that defender on her, she's got to turn. And she's at a pretty sharp angle there where she needs to get further into the end zone to even be able to make a turn away from the number three to catch a pass. So here she comes around. The number three's right up against her, and so she's in a really good position to turn directly away from the number three and catch the pass as she's making the turn. Once she makes the turn, you'll see she doesn't get as clear as you expect her to. And the reason is she doesn't turn her horse on the hind end. She turns the horse on the front end, so the horse plants his front feet and pushes his back end on around, which would normally push the number three around and keeping them on your stick side. But the reason she doesn't make a good turn and jump away is the number one is turning her horse on the front end. But then, even turning on the front end, she's clear for the pass there, and the reason she's clear for the pass is because the gray horse turned on his front end also, planted his front end, and spun his back end away from the ball carrier. So that time it didn't hurt for the number one to turn on the front end because the number three was turning on the front end also.